Humans have been on this earth for approximately 1.8 billion years. Isn't it crazy that slavery only ended 150 years ago? And isn't it crazier that schools have only been racially integrated for approximately 50 years? This is an excerpt from Martin Luther King's book called The Pilgrimage to Nonviolence. Often the question has arisen concerning my own intellectual pilgrimage to nonviolence. In order to get at this question, it is necessary to go back to my early teens in Atlanta. I had grown up harboring not only segregation, but also the oppressive and barbarous acts that grew out of it. I had passed spots where N-words had been savagely lynched and had watched the Ku Klux Klan on its ride at night. I had seen police brutality with my own eyes and watched N-words receive the most tragic injustice in the courts. All of these things that I had done growing up to my personality, I had come to perilously close to resenting all white people. MLK exemplifies what bravery means for me and what I think he means for others. A little background about him is he grew up in Atlanta, and after he grew up in Atlanta, he got his PhD in Boston, and he went on to live in Alabama. He was a reverend there and was a civil rights activist. One of his most memorable acts that he did was his march from Selma to Montgomery. It was 54 miles long, and from editors.histories.com, on February 18th, white segregationists attacked a group of peaceful demonstrators in the town of Marion, Alabama. In this insinuating chaos, an Alabama state trooper fatally shot Jamie Lee Jackson, a young African-American demonstrator. In response to Jackson's death, King and the SCLS planned a massive protest march from Selma to the state capital of Montgomery, 54 miles away. A group of 600 people. The marchers didn't get there before Alabama state troopers, wielding whips, night stocks, and tear gas, rushed the group at the Edmund Pettus Bridge and beat them back to Selma. The brutal scenes was captured on television, enraging many Americans and drawing civil rights and religious leaders of all faiths to Selma to protest. Editors, 2010. During his act, I believe that he showed a lot of active bravery because he understood that under that circumstance, he would get a lot of hate, a lot of crime, and a lot of brutality. Instead of being afraid and walking away and not following what he believed in, he channeled that anger and the hate and turned it into something better. He wanted freedom and, more importantly, equality for African Americans back then. After the speech that he gave in Selma, he was distraught, and although that happened to him, he had to continue on and give more speeches around the country because that's what he did. He led a protest and he wanted equal rights. This is from Thelton Henderson, who was an African-American judge that was King's friend. We all know him, that voice, the way he can inspire, but I saw another side of him that showed me how hard this task was. He had a big press conference coming up from all over the country, and people were there. We were in his room, and he was in his undershirt, and he was dead tired. And finally, Andy Young came into the room and said, "Okay, Mike," he called him Mike, "it's time to go." He sort of pulled himself up and went into the bathroom, splashed water on his face, put on his shirt, and then went and became the Martin Luther King Jr. that we all know. Just an incredibly big man with leadership, and I wish we all had that today. When he's speaking out about that, he's saying that he's so proud of him, and he probably would never be able to do that act of bravery because you're putting yourself in danger. Another quote from Good Speaks Project, Dr. King knew that speaking the truth in the atmosphere of intolerance could come with desired consequences, yet inspired others to love and forgive and speak out for their God-given rights, regardless. Project 2009. And Martin Luther King says to this, "Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed to get me to the mountaintop. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not go with you, but I want you to know tonight that we all as people will get to the promised land, and I'm so happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of coming to the land." Project 2009. Martin Luther King states there that he's brave and he understands what the circumstances come. Before giving his speech, I've been to the mountaintop. He was stabbed multiple times, and he knew his time was coming to an end. But like all brave leaders, it's not about how you do it. It's not running away from it. It's about embracing what is to come. And that's what makes him a brave leader.